East Los Angeles. In the 1960s, this was home to almost 100,000 Mexican Americans. It was the largest barrio in the United States. Only 1 out of 4 Chicanos completed high school.
I think the bottom line is the lack of concern of the teachers towards the kids and whether the kids were really getting an education or not. The reality set in that teachers weren't really concerned for the kids. When I started asking, why this neglect, I started getting some real bogus answers. Mr. Castro, you're overly concerned. The kids, Mexican kids, have a charming passivity, and you don't want to, you don't want to change that, do you?
It was dispiriting enough that the parents had not known any better, had accepted that they would never see the titles doctor or professor in front of their children's names. But teachers who were supposed to trade in the potential of youth presumed that their brown students were predestined to work with their hands, not with their minds.
And so they had no expectations of us. They didn't push us. They didn't demand that we learn.
One man knew better, and he wanted better for his students. Sal Castro, a teacher at Lincoln High School, became the students' advisor and friend, and a strategic thinker in the campaign that none of them knew was coming, but which would engage all of them.
We trusted him. I trusted him, literally with my life at the time.
He brought to East LA the principles and practices of King and Chavez. Castro organized the Mexican-American Youth Leadership Conference with high school and college students. They formed a Chicano coalition and presented the school with demands for a broader curriculum. Castro knew he was putting his job at risk, and perhaps even his life.
It was a constant harassment. I used to get phone calls, you'll be dead by tomorrow. I was on a list called the Yankee Crier, people that there was a bounty on my head.
By early March of 1968, the groups had exhausted all the usual remedies. Their recourse was direct action. The students were threatened with expulsion, with the withholding of scholarships, and some scholarships were indeed withheld. Nonetheless, more than 20,000 students in 5 East LA schools, Lincoln, Wilson, Garfield, Belmont, and Roosevelt, walked out. It was the first major mass protest against racism by Mexican Americans in the history of the United States.
The Friday walkout, I cried. I mean, you see these little kids, wave upon wave of kids coming out, fearing whatever, and doing it to change things for people they didn't even know. Those little kids, many of them thought they might actually die. In their own minds, they were out to do something. Niños héroes.
After 5 days of walkouts, tensions finally eased and students returned to school. Several weeks later, the school board bowed to pressure and met with parents, students, and Sal Castro to review the demands at last. In June 1968, the group that had become known as the East LA 13 was released on bail. When school opened again in the fall, Castro was not at his teaching post. The board refused to reinstate Castro at Lincoln High, where he had taught for 6 years, because he was an accused felon.
I walked in this morning and they told me I could not teach, that I would have to go downtown to personnel, that I could not teach.
Who told you
that? The principal.
And I saw it as, there goes the stupid school district again. Another dumb mistake. They were going to deny students one of the proven best teachers. What sense did that make?
The students took up their picket signs and launched yet another protest. Nothing happened. So the Chicano students staged a sit-in that became a sleep-in at the school board offices. Among their demands, that Sal Castro get his job back.
It's not so much, Mr. Castro. It's the issue. What the man means to every teacher. Academic freedom, shall we call it, to a Negro, to a Mexican, to an Anglo.
The sleep-in went on for a week and a day. 35 people were arrested for trespassing. But on the 9th day, the school board gave Castro his job back.
Roll call, please. Mr. Gardner? Yes. Dr. Hardy?
Yes.
Dr. Nalla?
Yes.
Dr. Rich?
Yes.
Dr. Wood?
No.
Reverend Jones?
Yes.
I move we adjourn.
Sal, they called you a troublemaker, a rabble-rouser, and everything else. Are you that?
No, I don't think so. I'm a reformer in education.
What does that mean?
There are many changes that have to be made because at this point, education is not relevant to kids in general and Mexicans in particular.
A comparison of what the students demanded and what they got that seminal spring would show few results. But there were bigger victories afoot. The changes to the spirit. 18 months of the walkout, the number of Chicano students attending UCLA jumped from 40 to 1,250.
Every college up and down the state had tripled and quadrupled and quintupled the amount of Chicano college students. And then the Ivy League schools started recruiting Chicanos to go to the Ivy League school. This was unheard of before. It's been a long life, and a long good life. You know, and I'd do it again 1,000,000 times. I have no regrets.